And the answer is absolutely not. And it's my unique, I feel I'm uniquely qualified as an insider in monetary operations to explain why you can do all these things. And there's absolutely no reason to be cutting anything because you've run out of money. There are other reasons to cut programs. Waste, fraud, I'm all in favor of that. But it's not about running out of money. And here's why. The federal government only spends money one way. You can call it anything you want. There's one way it spends today, yesterday, and tomorrow. And that is, it changes numbers into people's bank accounts. And what I mean by that is, if you're waiting for your Social Security check to come in, and you're looking at your computer screen on your online banking, and you see you've got $3,000 in your bank account, 3000, and all of a sudden your $1,000 Social Security payment hits, the 3 changes into a 4. All the federal government did is, with its computer, change your 3 into a 4. It did it through its member banks whose spreadsheet is connected to your computer. That's all it did. It didn't take a gold coin and shove it in there. Okay. Now, I didn't vote for this system or anything. I'm just telling you how it works. The state government doesn't do it. The local businesses, households, that's different. The federal government is just the scorekeeper. It just changes numbers. Now, where else do we see this happen? You go bowling, you knock 5 pins down. You look at the score. Your score goes from 10 to 15. Where did the bowling alley get those 5 points? They didn't get them from anywhere. Okay. That's the same thing. The government changes your score, it doesn't come from anywhere. The federal government doesn't ever have any dollars. It spends by changing numbers in our accounts where we have the dollars. It's the scorekeeper. The bowling alley doesn't have a bucket full of points waiting for you to knock your pins down to give you some. It just changes your score. There's no such thing as the government running out of money. It can cause inflation, it can make the dollar go down, it can waste money, it can do bad things, it can fight wars we don't want, but it isn't going to run out. Chairman Bernanke last year, suddenly there was an emergency. He had to give $600 billion to the banks. Okay, how did he do it? It's on the back of my book. Do you have a book there?
Yeah, actually.
He was on 60 Minutes. Scott Pelley asked, where did that money come from? Did you get it from taxpayers? You know, did you have to call up the IRS? Did you have to call China to borrow the money? He goes, no, we just used the computer to mark up the number in their accounts. He didn't even have the phone number of China or the phone number of the guy at the IRS collecting. The person spending the money, there's no operational connection between the guy spending the money who's in one room and the person who's changing numbers up and the people collecting taxes who are in another building. They don't even know each other. If it was so important, they'd at least know each other. So let's look at taxing. What does the government do when it taxes? It does the opposite. It just changes the number down in your bank account. It doesn't get anything. Okay? Now, everybody in government today says we have to get money through taxing to be able to spend. And what we don't tax, we have to borrow from countries like China, and then our children are going to have to pay it back. You hear this all the time. It's complete nonsense, or I wouldn't be here. Yeah. By the way, you know what I normally do with something like this is I swear myself in. But this is also for honesty in government. I solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Now, if I've told you any lies, if this isn't true, it's not a broken campaign promise to apologize. It's perjury. I can go to jail, okay? So I'm telling you, this is like, I'm here to tell you the truth on this stuff. I don't need this job. You know, it's not my dream job. Yeah, here it is. Chairman Bernanke, it's not tax money. The banks have accounts with the Fed, much the same way that you have an account in a commercial bank. So to lend to a bank, we simply use a computer to mark up the size of the account that they have with the Fed. The Fed is the Federal Reserve Bank. That's right. Okay, so there's no limit to that. Now, when I worked at William Blair in Chicago one day, when about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, a guy in my back office upstairs who kept track of the money calls me up and he says, hey, they made a mistake at Bank of New York, at the Fed wire. Bank of New York used to do the Fed transfers for us. They were supposed to send us $30,000, but the guy hit the wrong button on the computer, and they sent us $300 million. I said, great, let's go spend it. He goes, no, we can't do that. He said, but you know, interest rates were 12% back then. We're going to earn $100,000 in interest overnight by holding this money. I said, great. That was a good day's pay in 1978.
Yeah,
so 1979. Yeah. So then he calls me back later. An hour later, he says, I had to send it back. So what happened? He says, well, they asked me to send it back, and I told them the wire was closed, you know, because they closed it at 3 o'clock. They said, we'll open it. So they opened it, and he said, so what happened? They just changed the number in our bank account. That was good money. We could have gone out and spent that $300 million. Okay, they didn't get it from taxing or anything. It was just a mistake. But it doesn't mean when you go to spend that money, you get an electric shock or something. All government spending is just changing that money, the numbers. That's all there is. And when we sent it back, they just changed our number back down in our account at Bank of New York. They didn't get anything. It didn't drop into a bucket. Okay, so let's look at borrowing. We're all supposedly borrowing from, we owe all this money to China. Nobody knows how we're going to pay it back. And I'm not going to argue with what they call it. They can call it borrowing, but what you'll see is it's not the thing you need ever to be concerned with. So how does China get their dollars? They don't start off with any dollars. Okay, they have to sell something. So they put their stuff for sale in Walmart and we buy it and they get dollars. So where does it go? So let's